Hi everyone, these are notes 1.2 which are on multiplying and dividing signed numbers that are positive and negatives. And everything I had mentioned in the last video still holds, so if you'd like a bonus mark for completing this video, make sure to take these notes. It's going to be really helpful to make sure that you fully understand it if you're writing stuff down, okay? But again, not required. So I like to use an analogy that can help us to make sure that we're multiplying and dividing numbers that are positive and negative a little bit more easily. So generally, when we hear the word love, and this isn't an absolute answer, but generally we would say that love is a positive thing. And generally we would say that hate is a negative thing. And you're probably like, Ms. Shahada, this is math class. Why are we talking about love and hate? So let me explain to you how this is going to help us. So when we're multiplying, we have a lot of different scenarios that we can see. And I'm actually going to just change these colors really quickly so we can color code this here. One of our possible scenarios is we could have a positive times a positive, or positive multiplied by a positive. And what this is saying here is that you love to love. This plus sign here is saying love. This plus sign here is saying love. And if you love to love, that is a good thing. And another way of saying something is good is by saying it is a positive thing. Now, another option that we could have is if we have a positive times a negative. Now, this is saying you love to hate. And loving to hate is a bad thing. We don't want to love to hate, so this is bad. And another way of saying something is bad is that it is negative. Another option that we have is if you have a negative multiplied by a positive. And this is saying you hate to love. And if you hate to love, that's also a bad thing. So we're going to say that this is negative. And then the last scenario that we have is you have a negative times a negative. And what this is saying is that you hate to hate. So in other words, you don't like to hate. Right? And if you don't like to hate, then that's a good thing. So that is positive. Okay? Just to note that this only works for multiplying and dividing. It does not work for addition and subtraction. So here, we're essentially doing the exact same thing again. Positive divided by a positive is saying you love to love, and that's a good thing. So that is positive. Positive divided by a negative is saying that you love to hate, which is a bad thing, so that is a negative. Negative divided by positive is saying that you hate to love, which is also a negative thing, so we're going to say negative. It's a bad thing. And then a negative divided by a negative is saying that you hate to hate, which is a good thing. Not liking to hate is a good thing, so that's positive. All right, so now let's apply that to these questions here. So in our first example here, we have -3, and it's being multiplied by +5. So first thing I'm going to do is figure out what 3 times 5 is, which is 15. And then here, this is telling us that we have a negative times a positive, which tells us that we hate to love, and that's a bad thing, so it's negative, so our answer is -15. In our next example, we have -24, and that's getting divided by -4. So here I'm going to just figure out what 24 divided by 4 is first, which is 6. And then here we have a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive, because you hate to hate. That's a good thing, so we can say this is +6. For this next one right here, first thing I want to do is rewrite this 3.5 as an improper fraction. So I'm going to do 2 times 3, which is 6, and then add 1 to it. So it'd be 7, and then the denominator stays the same. And that's getting multiplied by -2/3. So the first thing I'm going to do is do my multiplication through. So I'm not going to worry about the signs at all. So I'm going to multiply just 7 by 2, which is 14, and then 2 by 3, which is 6, and then they're both divisible by 2, so I end up getting 7/3, okay? But because we have a positive, you love, multiplied by a negative, you hate, you love to hate, that's a bad thing. So our answer here should be -14/6 or -7/3. All right. And then in our last example here, it's the same idea. I have a -6.2 being divided by a positive 0.2. And don't let the decimals and the fractions scare you. It's the same exact idea. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out how many times 0.2 goes into 6.2. And the nice thing about decimals is that I can move this over and then move this over. So this actually ends up becoming a 2, and this actually just ends up becoming a 62, and it's a lot easier to deal with, right? So 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract it, you get 0, and then bring down the 2, and then 2 goes into 2 1 time. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract it, you don't have any remainders, so this works out nicely. So our answer here is 31. But we have a negative divided by a positive. So you hate to love, which is bad, so our answer is a negative 31. All right, if you have any questions, please reach out and email me. And that's it for this video. See you in our next section.